audio on. That would be good. Let's turn my audio on. That'd be fun.
That's a good idea.
Welcome to IDENTECO After Dark, our nerdy little podcast where we talk about gaming, movies, TV, business, all the fun stuff that we like to talk about. I am joined once again by my frequent co-host, Michael. Michael, how are you tonight?
I am good. Worked out a little bit tonight. Had a healthy dinner, and now I really want something horrible for me. So
you know what?
Firing on all cylinders.
I might go sneak over to the Dairy Queen later for a blizzard.
I hate you. I absolutely. I mean, I love you, but I hate you.
Oh man, I really kind of want one now. See, you just made me think about that.
You're welcome.
Yes. So, okay. Well, welcome in everybody. We're gonna kick off like straight away. So this one broke this morning. 30 some odd Ticketmaster customers have sued Ticketmaster over the Taylor Swift debacle. For those that don't know, Taylor's touring for the first time in like 5 years. And obviously she's a big draw. Like her or not, like her music or not, she's a huge draw. She has a lot of very loyal fans.
It is undeniable that Taylor Swift is a ticket sales machine.
She is. And so Ticketmaster had come up with this whole complicated thing about how they were going to make sure that the scalpers didn't get them, and verified fans, and blah, 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 blah. And for anybody who was watching it on Twitter and TikTok, oh my God, did it not go the way Ticketmaster said it was going to go. I'm not going to say intended, because it was my opinion from the beginning that this whole mess was not a bug. It was a feature.
Oh,
they wanted this. Furthermore, after this whole debacle, people have been complaining about Ticketmaster and after their acquisition of Live Nation, at the merger with Live Nation for years. Congress is opening investigations for antitrust. And that's what they're being sued for in LA federal court.
I mean, if anyone's going to apparently pull the muscle, get enough muscle together to get Congress to investigate, it's Taylor Swift.
Well, and here's the thing. It doesn't seem to be her. It seems to be her fans. Tip's in the chat saying Ticketmaster's been a plague since the 90s. And old...
Tip's not wrong, because Eddie Vedder warned us back in the day.
Okay, and that is a Seattle thing. That's Pearl Jam. That's in our DNA.
I did read a meme earlier today that was funny that I can't repost here, obviously, but I will just I'll plagiarize it a little bit. It was basically like Eddie Vedder warned everybody in the 90s about Ticketmaster, but nobody could understand.
That's true. So that's the latest. They're being sued. They filed a class action. Obviously, it's only 36 so far, but that's the way class actions start. And then people sign on to be part of a class action.
You said 36. I thought there were 50 people in the suit when I was looking over the brief that they posted.
There may be more. Let's take a look. 2,500 for everything. 26 plaintiffs from 13 states is the one I have from NPR. I'm sure, again, as it develops, more people will sign on to be part of the class.
For sure. Oh, for sure they will.
I'm not sure how the Ticketmaster Live Nation thing got through antitrust in the first place. I can only state that it must be because the Federal Trade Commission is toothless and stupid. That's right, I said it.
I assumed there were some palms that were greased.
You have to.
There was money involved, I'm sure.
Yeah. Ticketmaster, and now Ticketmaster not only merged with Live Nation, so they're essentially the only game in town. They've been accused of bullying tactics for venues and artists, basically saying, artists, you can't play this venue without using us. Venues, we won't get you these artists without using us. So they're playing both sides against the middle. And then furthermore, people complain about the scalpers, but Ticketmaster is running their own secondary market. Now, the thing that people need to understand, and that I feel like we should explain up front, when Ticketmaster sells the initial ticket, they take their little fee, but the artist gets that money, right? When it's sold back on the secondary market, Ticketmaster puts on a larger service fee if you sell it on their like guaranteed ticket site, and the artist sees none of the money, not a nickel.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that secondary sale is
is all to the original ticket holder,
Yep.
the scalper, and the larger fee that Ticketmaster puts on, which the scalper doesn't pay.
Mm-hmm.
The customer pays. My contention is because of the way that system is set up, they have no incentive, none, zero, to stop the scalping market.
Oh, absolutely zero. I mean, this is no different than any other limited demand, like low volume release of anything, right? I mean, and it's been this way for decades. You know, there have been people scalping for a long time. The only difference is that there's a system now in place that allows them to scalp within the system that they bought the ticket from.
Yep.
Instead of standing outside the stadium trying to sell it to somebody walking up, they can literally just turn around, flip it right back into Ticketmaster's system, Live Nation's system, and be like, hey, anybody want this ticket?
And I was hearing about Taylor Swift tickets for this tour going for upwards of $30,000. Which, all right,
doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise me.
People will pay it.
They will pay what they will pay what they've got to pay. So with Congress,
Tip makes another good point. Again, like we have talked about limited run items, right? Like, and especially with the chip shortages we had during the pandemic.
Yep.
Or during the early parts of the pandemic, you know, you saw the graphics cards, they
through
were
the
being
roof,
wiped out, and it was and again, those chip shortages were affecting so many devices, and everything was getting scalped. And again, there is no incentive for any retailer or any distributor or any producer to go after scalpers, because all they're doing is making your product more valuable.
Oh, no, absolutely. So here's the first question that I think we have to ask in chat. You guys feel free to keep chiming in with any comments or questions you have on these or any of the other topics. Do you think now that this is happening, with the way this is set up right now, lawsuits, congressional investigations, etc., do you think it's going to go anywhere?
If you're asking me, I say no. I feel like this is something that is being done, or it's being investigated, but I think at the end of the day, they're not going to do anything about it. Because again, money's going to get involved at some point in the process. And unfortunately, I just have no faith in our legal system to actually play this out in a way that is fair to the end consumer.
I mean, the last major antitrust that I remember actually getting done, and it took them years, was Microsoft. Was the whole Internet Explorer antitrust issue. And Microsoft survived that, but it did, to be fair, it did widen the market. It also changed how web browsers are done today, right? Nobody pays for web browsers anymore. They're a free service.
No, not at all.
So the funniest thing about scalpers, they won't touch Magic 30th anniversary. This is true, and that's a whole separate topic.
That's
a whole
topic.
But it does go to the secondary market. Now here's the God. Now you're gonna get me going on a rant here, Tip, because I actually have.
I think
some
Tip
theories
knew very
on this.
well. Tip knew very well that that's what was going to happen.
Okay,
so I say let it run. I think this is what Tip wanted. This is for you.
We'll do it. We'll do an A block part 2 about Magic. In fact, I'm gonna make a nut about here. So I generally agree with you. Now, if it was me, and I was trying to stop the scalpers, I'll tell you, because again, it is still price sensitive. It's still a price sensitive market. I would say that if they're going to pay a secondary fee when you're putting it on Ticketmaster's secondary system, I don't think the customer should pay it. I think the person who's selling the ticket should pay it.
I agree. I mean, I 100% agree, but that's not the way.
I think that would slow down the scalpers.
That's not the way it works.
If Ticketmaster put a 20% surcharge to the seller for all resold tickets, right? And so the more you put it up there for, the more you're going to have to pay, right? Go ahead, sell your Taylor Swift ticket for $15,000. That'll be $3,000 to us. And guess what? The customer is not going to pay that. You are. So
But again, that's assuming that they want to do something about scalping.
And see, this
And
is
with the fees that they're pulling in, they certainly don't want to do anything about scalping.
this is my point. I came up with that idea just now. You can't tell me Ticketmaster doesn't have people inside their organization that doesn't know how to fix this. They do.
No, but they 100% do. Every organization, every manufacturer, every producer, every distributor, they have people in their organization that control the supply chains, or that at least try to exert some control over the supply chains. They know these are issues, but at the end of the day, it's dollar signs, and that's all it is. It's pure capitalism, supply and demand. And unfortunately, in cases like this, the demand severely outstrips the supply.
Yep, and chat's going, that's what everyone else does, is they charge the provider instead of the customer, and then the upped price helps reimburse the provider with sales. And that's how they should do it. But they don't. Yeah, I have no faith that Congress is going to go anywhere with this. We've seen how toothless they are on antitrust. The Federal Trade Commission is toothless on antitrust. Ever since the Reagan Revolution, like, the regulatory state has taken a serious hit, and I hate to say it. Now, this is, and actually, so, you and I were talking the pre-show. Mm-hmm. I very rarely go to events that Ticketmaster sells tickets for anymore.
So, to be fair, I haven't used Ticketmaster personally in a long time, but I did just buy tickets for Weird Al through Ticketmaster. I was, again, unhappy necessarily with the ticket price, although, again, for Weird Al, I feel like what I paid was reasonable. But at the end of the day, I've bought through Ticketmaster in the past, and every time I only bought through Ticketmaster because I essentially had to.
There's nobody else that does it.
There was nobody else to go through. I couldn't buy them from the venue at the box office. I had to go through Ticketmaster.
Oh, absolutely. Like, that's, well, and even if you go to the venue at the box office, if you actually go look, a lot of them, they have to bring up a Ticketmaster portal in order to sell you the tickets at the box office. And so if you look at your receipt from the box offices, you're still paying Ticketmaster, because they're the ones who are running the show. Here's the other thing that frustrates me. If there was any artist, and Taylor posted like I'm so sad for my fans and this is horrible. If there was one artist right now in our collective consciousness that has the power, due to the amount of draw that she has, right, to tell Ticketmaster to get bent, it's Taylor Swift.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
And I think she has an ethical obligation to try.
But again, it's a case of, oh, geez, fans, this is horrible. I'm so sorry. Sorry, not sorry?
Yep. And Jessica in the chat saying it took her a long time to post that, and it was more than a week after the whole debacle happened with the tickets.
Exactly, because there was a whole team of PR people on the back end for Taylor going, all right, now how are we going to handle this? Instead of a person recognizing that something is, affecting their fans in an extremely negative way and trying to do something right about it.
Yep. Cat Moore, does this mean Ticketmaster essentially is a monopoly? Yes. Ever since the merger with Live Nation, there's a couple of small, like, venue promoter ticketing companies, and they handle minor venues and minor events. But for all intents and purposes, Ticketmaster has a monopoly. And actually, Tip saying outside of sports ball, yes. Actually, even within sports ball, Ticketmaster does, I would say, the majority of sporting tickets.
Yep.
So
for sure.
They have a huge monopoly on this. It's really, really bad, and quite frankly, I wish Congress, this is your job. Come on. Can we do something, anything? Speaking of which, they actually could now. The Senate now has they have full committee power in the Senate. They have it. They have subpoena power in the Senate now because they're not splitting 50-50 Republicans. So they don't have to come to a power sharing agreement. You guys could do some shit.
They could, but again, I quote my lack of faith in politics and the legal system.
Look what it took to get the burn pit legislation passed. Jon Stewart basically had to shame them for like a month with huge platforms to get them to pass burn pit legislation. So yeah, they could, but they won't. Basically, chat's all in there. So there you go. The lawsuits have started. I think this was inevitable. I don't think there was any way for them to avoid this. And quite frankly, I hope Ticketmaster... Put it this way. At the very least, I know Ticketmaster is going to have to spend a lot of money defending this. Because they went after the wrong fan base. Like, they screwed over the wrong fan base. The Swifties are hardcore. They are dedicated. And they will not stop. They will not stop until they get their pound of flesh. So you know what, Swifties? My hat's off to you. I hope you prevail. I really do. I think it's going to take years. I literally think it will end up being a Supreme Court case if it keeps going.
For sure.
There's been a lot of people who've been mad about Ticketmaster for a long time. Maybe this will be finally the thing that pissed everybody off. Tips in the chat saying they should go the way of Bell telephones. I agree. Again, our Congress has broken up corporations in the past and been like, nope, too much. Go look up the Hollywood lawsuits from, what was that, the 1930s when the studio system, when they owned everything, soup to nuts, theaters, distribution, and the studios, and the actors. And Congress literally had to step into Hollywood 40s. Thank you very much, chat. Congress had to step in and break up the studio system, right? They did it to the railroads. They did it to Belt Ma Bell. They did it. Where else have they've done it a couple of times where they finally stepped in. So maybe we'll get a pleasant surprise, Michael.
It's the holiday season. People talk about miracles.
It'll be a Christmas miracle.
Unlikely.
All right.
I'm going on the record of saying it's highly unlikely.
Yes, very much so. So that's that for the Taylor Swift thing. Like I said, good luck, Swifties. I hope you win. I'm rooting for you. I'm over here. All right.